paradigm of absolute control. And that's why we're just out here doing simple things, pointing out that we're meant to be in nature and be natural. And this is where we find the source that God made to transcend the New World Order. And that's why they want to try to keep us out of it.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers, scum. They're on giant death factories, keeping babies alive and selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under rocks. They have green-looking skin, and they run around screaming, "We love Satan, we wanna eat babies." I have them on video. Hillary's in the creepy, weird, sick stuff, man. She sleeps in the same room with that creepy, weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur. Literal vampire pot and the goblins are hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stab your daughter at the mall. We're gonna stab your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, "We love our Somalis, we love our Muslims. Oh, they're so good, oh, they're so sweet."
I was watching Fox News as I worked out this morning.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. I said certified freak. 7 days a week. Wet ass P word. Make that pull-out game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P word. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P word. Give me everything you've got for this wet ass P word. Beat it up, N-word, catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card. Hop on top, I wanna ride. I do a kegel while it's inside. Spit in my mouth, look in my eyes. This P word is wet, come take a dive. It continues along these lines. And it gets significantly more vulgar. Like, a lot more vulgar.
leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, oh, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. And that's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm gonna get my hands around your throat.
What rolls downstairs, a motor in pairs, rolls over your neighbor's dog? What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's long, long, long. It's long, long. It's big, it's heavy, it's wood. It's long, long. It's better than that, it's good. Everyone wants a long. You're gonna love it long. Come on and get your long. Everyone needs a long.
Log from Blammo.
another Beware broadcast. Oh, hey everybody, how you doing? How you been? That's right, we got another Beware broadcast coming at you live here from Montreal, Quebec. It is 7 in the morning. I'm fresh-faced and focused, and we're going to be checking out the Trump indictment. There is so much right-wing cope and hilarious reactions to go check out. It's super momentous. It's like such a big thing that's happened. So I'm excited. I hope you're excited. It's going to be a good stream. It's currently pretty cloudy and, kind of mid today. It's been like really rainy in Montreal. Really rainiest I've ever seen it in my life. But yeah, we're going to try to get back in the saddle. I finally finished my paper. I finally finished my 50-page final paper, the final boss that was due for my master's program. So I'm super proud. I'm super excited for that. It's like so much work that's off my plate. Now I just got to do some dorky presentation that's like 15 minutes. So I'm not too worried about that. So yeah, I think I got some more time to stream and get back in the saddle. I'm not sure if I'll get back to streaming every single morning, but I can definitely try. Right now, as far as I'm aware, the big news is that there's going to be a big announcement Monday, and I think I'm going to live stream that because that's going to be ridiculous. Here, I'm just going to go. I'll be right back. So, we're going to take a closer look at what's been going on, and yeah, updates. Yeah, I got a story for you. So, oh man, this is a rough one. This is the backstory on the poetry show that we ran at Sala Rosa. And Sala Rosa, if you're not from Montreal, is kind of one of the bigger venues, but it's not owned by any big corporation like MTLIS is, for example, which used to be known as the Metropolis. And so I've been looking up to this venue my whole life. I was so excited to basically spend big bucks to have a big stage and have a big show for these poets as a reward. And we get to the show, and there's maybe 4 of us, and the gates are locked. It's like, oh, that's a bad sign. They said we could come anytime after 4. So we start asking around, and we find a young techie, a junior, and she helps rally forces. And I talk to the owner, and the owner's just like, oh yeah, it's the summer. You must have slipped through. We had no idea. We have you here as canceled. We had paid them the deposit. So it was such a crazy scramble. In 2 hours, we had to try to get this show up and running. And I was trying to get a live stream going for the Throw YouTube, and also for, actually, it was streamed here on this channel as well. I think you can check it out for the next couple of weeks before it's taken down by Twitch. And it was a good show. There was really good performances, really good content, but we sold a couple dozen tickets. It was ridiculous. So I'm feeling a bit down about that. I'm gonna try to get the next show to be a bit better, I suppose. Gonna start advertising today. Super wiped, but it's gonna be chill. It's gonna be just at a bar, and a nice cozy stage, and more of a French audience who are a bit more enthusiastic, a bit louder than the English folk are usually. But yeah, so that's what's going on in the poetry front. School's all wrapped up. I got new music in the work. Just lots to do, lots to catch up on now that school's over. And yeah, I would like to try to get back into the live streaming. I mean, for a week, I was just producing Instagram reels every morning for the Throw Insta channel, and they were doing good. They were doing really good. I can even maybe show some of them here after, if we're looking for a break. But it was not easy. It was very hard. It's very frustrating. I did not realize. I was just trying to emulate what's popular right now with write about now poetry or button poetry, who are like the big names in America. And we're just like little baby, Canadians. Our national scene's all in fabric, or no, how do you say? It's all ripped up and stuff. There is no national fabric currently. We're trying to bring it back. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's see what's going on in the world. Let's see what's happening. I'm gonna blast off, let people know I am live. If you're watching on YouTube, give me a like or subscribe. I'm usually here every morning. Now that I can be instead of just hacking away at my paper, or trying to disappear into the void of video games. Yeah, so let's hop to. I'm gonna pull up our first little thing that we have. Okay. So, I was kind of curious what Ben Shapiro had to say, but first we're just going to get some basic news just to catch us up what's going on. I've been following this a bit, sort of, kind of, but it'd be nice to have a rundown. I know it has something to do with Georgia. So I kind of wanted to, take a quick look and see if we can get ourselves up to date. I think Ben Shapiro also has like a really long video. It's like an hour long. So yeah, we'll go, let's check that out now. Let's go. All right.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted for a fourth time, this time over his efforts to overturn the 2020.
Let's go, number 4. The most, and I think my favorite joke on this was, congratulations to Trump, who broke the previous record holder, Trump, who got indicted 3 times, who, they just did the whole chain, and like, has anyone actually been indicted? I think Nixon stepped down before he got indicted. Fuck.
Election in the state of Georgia. So the sweeping indictment came down late last night and charges Trump along with 18 other allies and advisors. Our Washington Bureau Chief Jack Saprosco, of course, has been following this and will be following this very closely. He joins us now from U.S. Capitol with more. Hello, Jackson. So a lot to break down, of course, because he's not the only one. What more do we know about the charges?
Tell us more.
Well, good morning to you, Anthony. The central allegation here is that Trump and those 18 co-conspirators.
Yeah, I heard it was like this huge like RICO case, like this big conspiracy web used for like mob bosses or whatever, just to preempt this guy, to steal his thunder.
Refused to accept the outcome of the 2020 election, that they refused to accept that Trump had lost, especially in the state of Georgia, and that they together joined a conspiracy to unlawfully try and change the outcome of the vote. And really what the indictment does is dial in on all those various efforts that we saw unfold in the state of Georgia.
And he did like so much of it publicly too, like it was kind of in the public eye. We were all like watching it happen. It's like if a democracy can't defend itself against people who say, I don't believe I lost, like, come on.
The famous phone call in which Trump phoned Georgia's Secretary of State and asked him to find the specific number of votes that would be needed to flip the state in his favor long after the recount.
Randomly showing the prosecutor without much introduction.
Counts and audits and election had been certified, to the allegations that Trump-friendly campaign workers illegally accessed voting machines. And that's something that an independent journalist actually walked in on at one point. And so what was done here is that the Attorney General in Georgia...
What? Say that again?
Workers illegally accessed voting machines. And that's something that an independent journalist actually walked in on.
What are you doing in here? They're like... The journalist walks into a room and they're all tinkering with the vote machines. It's pretty dodgy. I don't know.
On at one point. And so what was done here is that the Attorney General in Georgia, the District Attorney in Georgia has woven all of these together into a RICO case, which is an organized crime statute typically used to prosecute members of the mob.
Yes, let's go. If you just listen to Trump for us, just listen to him. Like, he sounds like a mob boss. Everything's couched. Everything's like non-specific and vague, and
And instead, she's saying, look, racketeering charges are warranted here because of the level of coordination. And Anthony, in the indictment that dropped yesterday, she outlines 8 ways that the group tried to obstruct the election, and then 161 separate actions that were taken over the course of that obstruction.
Now, you mentioned the group. He is not the only one. Who else can we include in this?
I think this is what's so remarkable here. You've got Mark Meadows, who was the former White House chief of staff, now the highest-ranking White House official to be named in any of the legal problems facing Donald Trump. You've got Rudy Giuliani, of course, Trump's lawyer, a pioneer of using RICO charges, now facing them himself. You've got Sidney Powell, the Trump attorney who was out there leveling all sorts of theories about how the election had been stolen, and in fact, some people on
Also known as the Kraken.
Trump's own inner circle called her a crackpot. She's now charged. And you've even got a top former
The Kraken, the crackpot.
DOJ official charged, as well as other Trump supporters and sympathizers. So really speaks to a broad case here. Anthony, we should also point out that there are 30 unindicted co-conspirators here mentioned as well. And you have to think that prosecutors are going to try and put pressure on those 30 individuals to flip on the main 19 people, including Donald Trump in this case.
Yeah, that kind of leads to the point whether this changes the calculus over the ultimate trial. When it comes to this, because people are just trying to wrap their head around, because as you mentioned, the 4th indictment, this follows the federal charges earlier. So these are state level charges. How does that change everything?
It's awesome.
Yeah, first of all, Donald Trump is going to try and get this moved to federal court. He tried that in New York as well with the Stormy Daniels case. He's not likely to succeed there. State-level charges are a completely different issue for the former president here. First and foremost, if he is convicted, he cannot receive a presidential pardon. That means if he's reelected, he can't pardon himself. No future.
I just love how far we've gone that pardon himself is now just something we skip over. Just something that's said normally, just not as if that isn't something crazy.
President can pardon him of state-level charges. A governor in Georgia does not even have pardon power, so a Republican governor in the state in the future could not pardon him. Pardons are decided by a state-level panel. That's the biggest thing to keep in mind here. The other thing to remember is that unlike federal courts where there are no cameras allowed, in Georgia's courts, everything is televised, which means this trial will be televised. It's quite likely that Trump's initial appearance will even be televised. We should also point out that it's quite likely we'll see a mugshot out of this case, which is not something we've seen in the federal courts. So lots to watch there. As for how this unfolds, Trump and his co-defendants have until next Friday, that's August 25th, to turn themselves in. We don't know exactly when Trump will make his initial appearance yet. 25th? That's still being sorted out. And we should also point out for the record that when you add in Georgia now, the former president is facing 91 separate charges against set out across 4 different cases. That is remarkable. That is completely historic.
So you make a very profound point, and you mentioned if he is reelected, he cannot receive a pardon if he is convicted. But in terms of the overall fundraising and reelection chances, what does it mean, because of the state, what does it mean for his chances overall? Can he continue if he is convicted?
You know, each one of these indictments has actually helped Donald Trump, at least internally with Republicans, and that's who he's got to win over right now.
That's my president. That's my president. Yeah. Liberal elite come in and coordinating across the country in 4 different indictments.
He's got to win the party's nomination. Each indictment results in him raising millions of dollars, especially from small-time individual donors who feel compelled to give him their money. They buy his argument, his defense, that this is a politically motivated witch hunt. They are all in on Donald Trump. It's hurting his fellow Republican contenders big time. They are seeking further.
The Republicans can't field another candidate because their most popular one is getting indicted left, right, and center for all of his criming, and it's just making him more popular.
and further back in the pack. The question, of course, is what does it mean in the general election if he's successful in winning the nominations? Do Americans as a whole have an appetite for electing an indicted, potentially convicted president? That we don't know. What we do know is that the 2024 campaign schedule is going to run up against a packed court calendar for the former president. Fani Willis, the district attorney in Georgia, has said she wants to prosecute this case within the next 6 months. We know that Jack Smith, the federal special counsel going after Trump on similar election interference charges, is looking at starting his trial as early as January 2nd. And Anthony, we talked about that deadline for that first appearance over the next 2 weeks. Smack in the middle of that is the first Republican presidential candidates debate next Thursday in Milwaukee. Trump still hasn't said if he's going to attend that, by the way.
Remarkable. It is, no matter what, it is remarkable political drama unfolding once again in the United States. Thank you so much for that update. I know there is a lot to break down, a lot for people to wrap their heads around, but we appreciate it. That is Jack Saprosco joining us from Washington, D.C. Thank you again, sir.
Yeah,
Today, based on information developed by that investigation.
This is Fani Willis, the Georgia district attorney who brought the case.
A Fulton County grand jury returned a true bill of indictment.
A true bill.
Charging 19 individuals with violations of Georgia law.
Oh man, I wish I had gone with that drawing. That's a hilarious.
Arising from a criminal conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in this state.
She's got great beads on, too.
The indictment includes 41 felony counts and is 97 pages long.
Oh.
Please remember that everyone charged in this bill of indictment is presumed innocent. Specifically, the indictment brings felony charges against Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Louis Giuliani, John Charles Eastman, Mark Randall Meadows, John Cheesebro, Jeffrey Clark. Every individual charged in the indictment is charged with one count of violating Georgia's Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act through participation in a criminal enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere.
Bro, she's calling the current head of the House. The current House. Oh, God. He's the House Majority Leader, Mark Meadows, and she's indicting him. I'm being indicted.
The illegal goal of allowing Donald J. Trump to seize the presidential term of office beginning on January 20th, 21.
Damn.
Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors who were certified as the winners of Georgia's 2020 general election.
Look at that hair. Shit, man. It's happening. It is happening. America is, coming apart at the seams. Holy shit. Okay, before we get into this next one, I'm just going to swap my windows real quick. Just so that I can look up new shit. Normally I do this on background, but I'm sure you won't mind. I'm sure you won't mind.
As former President Trump deals with the impact of new indictments, officials on both sides of the aisle are working to investigate and eliminate politically motivated violence. The number of people who agree force is justified to restore Trump to the presidency is up to nearly 18 million American adults. Officials are predicting additional calls for violence, similar to those seen leading up to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Robert Pape joins us now on set, professor of political science at the University of Chicago. Bob, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
How much is a fourth indictment going to increase the possibility or the risk of violence?
Well, is there a fifth one coming? Like, I want to know How many more shoes there are to drop?
The first federal indictment, we already saw the violent support for Trump go up by 50%. In the last month, we saw a threat against Biden turn into a shootout and a death. We saw a month before that an assailant take bombs and guns to Obama's house here in Washington.
Wait, what?
And so what we are seeing is disturbing rises in both support for political violence and also actual threats just in the last few months. Now, that is likely to go up, but it's already gone up more than I think the public really knows just in the last month and a half. And this is really surprising and disturbing. We don't normally have multiple threats to the president and the former president within a month of each other. Yes, they've happened before, but we're seeing them more often, more frequently, and we're also seeing, as you just reported in our surveys at the University of Chicago, the support for the use of force to restore Trump to the presidency up by 50%. Also want to point out that the left is also becoming radical. There are tens of millions who now report that they support the use of force to prevent Donald Trump from becoming the president. Our political leaders can do something about this, and we have a great opportunity with the August 23rd Republican presidential debate.
I'm going to press you on that. I think that's really the next forum so many political candidates, wannabe presidents, are going to have. I want to button up one thing. In the case outside of President Obama's home in D.C., prosecutors updated it to say no explosives in that van. Small note, but worth mentioning because the case is still moving along in the federal courts. They have all these GOP contenders on stage in Milwaukee, Wednesday, August 23rd. What should they be asked about indictment, since they're not indicted, but their competitor is?
They should be asked to stand up and stand together and make a pledge that whether political violence comes from Republicans or from the left, they will oppose publicly political violence. This is important because Mike Pence will be on that stage. And if they won't take that pledge to reject, oppose, and abhor political violence, whether it comes from the right and the left, they should be asked, so it's okay if Trump supporters chant, hang Mike Pence, and build a gallows just yards from where he is?
You'd mentioned that there's a number of threatening behaviors or threatening tendencies coming from different directions. Everybody has a little bit of their hands dirty on this. Explain what you mean by that, because at this point we see...
What are you talking about? Oh, everybody has their hands dirty? We're talking about the fourth indictment of a criminal president. What are you talking about?
1,000 plus Trump supporters charged with being part of January 6th, and we don't see a symmetrical set of threats or charges by that number and that magnitude coming against those who would be his opponents.
Yo, this host is spitting.
There's a reason why we're seeing active threats from the right and not from the left. Those sentiments I talk about are like kindling in a wildfire. Trump's rhetoric is very incendiary to touch that off. President Biden's rhetoric is the opposite. He is calming. He's a calming force. In our surveys, the more people support Biden, even among the few Republicans, the less they support violence for Trump. And so what Biden has been doing for the last 2 years is calming, whether it's with the Supreme Court or and what he's doing is he's trying to redirect the anger into voting, not into violence and agitation, whereas Trump is confrontation. Joe Biden is, let's make our institutions even better. And that is our best way ahead.
There's this sense that what happened January 6, 2021 is not plausible to happen again because everybody would be ready for it. There'll be a war footing on January 6, 2025.
Bro.
Where do you think, what type of event or type of moment do you think the vulnerability exists most?
The biggest thing we have to worry about is lone wolf violence that is going to be extremely difficult to predict and to see. We saw this with Oklahoma City in 1996. So this was several years after Waco, and we cannot protect every possible target that the extremists could go for. And unfortunately, what we have been seeing pretty much since the first year of the Trump presidency is more domestic extremism, whether it is to support Trump or to punish people for not supporting Trump enough. And that is, we saw on January 6th, explode into a crowd. That's not quite impossible to happen again, but we need to realize that campaigns of domestic terrorism, say in Northern Ireland, say in West Germany, say in Spain, have happened in democracies. And what has preceded all of those campaigns? Higher support for political violence in the general population.
And we also note the reporting from the U.S. Capitol Police, roughly 10,000 threat investigations they're handling each year. Robert Pape, the University of Chicago, thanks for being here in D.C.
I don't know, what do you think?
Your time, and we appreciate your watching.
Okay, moving on. We got the man himself. This is what I'm excited for. So apparently, Trump posted a large, complex, detailed, but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud. Oh, geez, really? Which took place in Georgia, is almost complete and will be presented by me at a major news conference at 11 a.m. on Monday of next week in Bedminster, New Jersey, based on the results of this conclusive report. All charges should be dropped against me and others. There will be a complete exoneration. Silent H. They never went after those that rigged the election. They only went after those that fought to find the riggers. That's why that word was trending on Twitter. Oh my god. Holy shit. What is happening? Oh my god. Trump's attempt to do a version of this in a September 2021 letter to Brad Raffensperger is literally a charge in the indictment. Yeah, true. True. By Ryan Bort? Somebody by the name of Bort? I thought that was just a Simpsons joke. Witch hunt! So Monday, everybody. Monday, 11, I'm going to try to move things around at work to see if I can stream. Because that sounds like incredible content. That sounds awesome. I kind of want to be here for it. All right, let's move on. All right, so here's some right-wing cope. This guy's responding to Brian Kemp. The 2020 election in Georgia was not stolen. For nearly 3 years now, anyone with evidence of fraud has failed to come forward under oath and prove anything in a court of law. Our elections in Georgia are secure, accessible, and fair, and will continue to be as long as I am governor. Oh, this is Kemp the governor. Jeez. The future of our country is at stake in 2024. That must be our focus. There's going to be a bunch of cope. Oh, this is people dunking on Lindell. This guy says, Kemp, this is Robert Barnes from Barnes Law. Kemp lies. Trump's Georgia election contest was, by law, required to be heard within 10 days. Fulton County courts refused. Hence, Trump's election contest was never heard. Georgia also promised to produce signature matches and publish ballots, but reneged and did neither. It's just like real inside baseball there. There's like so much cope. The burden of proof is on the government, and they must prove Donald Trump didn't believe there was fraud. Oh, jeez. It's also so silly. This is the red-headed libertarian. Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution provides 2 ways to propose amendments to the document. 1, by Congress through a joint resolution passed by a 2/3 vote. 2, by convention called by Congress in response to applications from 2/3 of the state legislatures. This is clown shit. It's just like, oh, actually, this is something different. Sorry, my bad. Here's Mark Levin. President Trump can, in fact, pardon himself from the Georgia charges if he is elected president. Okay, this is an interesting take. Let's see where this goes. I'm not a lawyer, but I get the feeling he isn't one either. Is this guy a lawyer? He just runs a show with 3.7 million followers. Holy shit. Mark Levin sounds so familiar. Who is Mark Levin? Mark Levin. He is a lawyer. Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox News. Oh, he worked for Reagan. Oh, boo. Boo. You worked for Reagan. How can we possibly take you serious about a criminal president? The Constitution's silent about whether a president can be indicted. Okay, all right. 2. The DOJ has taken the position under both parties that you cannot indict a sitting president because it would cripple the executive branch and make his ability to defend himself effectively impossible. 3. Given the DOJ's position and the supremacy clause in the Constitution, I would argue strongly that the idea that a president cannot be indicted at the federal level because it would cripple the executive branch, but can be indicted by local DAs, would have exactly the same effect as a federal indictment, except there are thousands of local and state prosecutors making the crippling of a president even more likely. 4. Furthermore, if indicted and even convicted, the idea that a president cannot pardon himself from state charges is absurd. Again, not only because of the supremacy clause, but the same considerations that apply to a federal conviction would obviously apply to a state conviction. Therefore, I disagree with Turley's view. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know how this makes sense. If he committed crimes, and he's but this still all hinges. And you're still calling him President Trump. Like, he's not president right now. Like, and then in that same sentence saying if he is elected president. Like, this is so deranged. Why would you call somebody... it's weird. It's like that whole American thing where you, like, continue to get called the thing. Okay, moving on. Moving on. I've got some... I believe I have some Ben Shapiro. It's an hour long though, so we're gonna get to that after. Here is Trump Jr. They violated my father's due process rights, tainted the grand jury, and then lied through their teeth about it. Oh my God. Here we go.
Everything this corrupt establishment is doing to me is all about preserving their power and control over the American people.
Oh
They're
my
sick.
God. They're sick. Oh boy. This is one of my favorite posts. Someone doing a collage of all the times that Tim Pool said you were in a civil war. And Lycan said, I know what Tim Pool wants for Christmas. Snaps. So good. I guess Chuds of TikTok did the compilation. At what point is it not cold civil war? I mean, I've said cold civil war, but I haven't said civil war. That's a whole different thing. That's an entirely separate thing. You're definitely still maybe in a cold civil war. Probably in a cold civil war, but an actual civil war? Like, come on. Come the fuck on. And here's his latest one. Man, they're charging all the people in the criminal conspiracy? Dang, that really do be like a civil war. Brother against brother, everybody. Here's some of the cope. This is honestly, like, pure art. Absolutely pure art. It's like Lady Liberty running to her father. I had a bad dream. Uncle Joe was coming to take me away. And then it's just Trump staring into the rain, comforting Lady Liberty. It's so... just absolute incredible stuff here. Absolutely earth-shattering. Not sure how the left is gonna, put itself together. This was also some weird news just before we get into the Ben Shabibo stuff. Apparently, the site formerly known as Twitter, always a great name for your site. We all remember the artist formerly known as Prince. The site formerly known as Twitter has added a 5-second delay when a user clicks on a shortened link to the New York Times, Facebook, and other sites owner Musk commonly attacks, Washington Post found. And I read it this morning, and they reached out to the New York Times like, hey guys, have you heard about this? And the New York Times like, yeah, we noticed. And that's 5 seconds. That's like nuclear levels of, I don't know. Like, I don't know why you would do that. Only someone who hates the internet would add a 5-second delay to a link. That is some rude business. Okay, let's get to Ben Shabibo. This should be pretty entertaining. Let's see what he's got. See what he's got to say.
They did it.
He looks so angry in that.
They finally did it. It's long awaited. Fannie Willis is the DA in Fulton County. For a couple of years, this has been coming. She's very fond of charging RICO cases. She's now going to charge Donald Trump.
I love how he says that as a negative. She's very fond of charging RICO cases, and it's more like, wait, doesn't that mean she breaks up mobs? Aren't you for that, Ben? Law and order?
And 18 alleged co-conspirators in a giant RICO case. According to the Associated Press, Donald Trump and 18 allies were indicted in Georgia on Monday over their efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss in the state, with prosecutors using a statute normally associated with mobsters to accuse the former president, lawyers, and other aides of a criminal enterprise to keep him in power. It's a nearly 100-page indictment. It's 98 pages. It details dozens of acts by Trump or his allies to undo his defeat, including beseeching Georgia's Republican Secretary of State to find enough votes for him to win the battleground state, harassing an election worker who faced false claims of fraud, and attempting to persuade Georgia lawmakers to ignore the will of voters and appoint a new slate of electoral college electors favorable to Donald Trump. In one particularly brazen episode, it also outlines a plot involving one of Donald Trump's lawyers in accessing voting machines in rural Georgia County to steal data from the voting machine companies, supposedly, although, of course...
Steal data? How is this not...
The question there is whether they were looking for evidence of the possibility that the voting machines had been hacked. Or
okay. So I guess it's fine. When that journalist walked in on them, like, tinkering with the machines, it's okay. They were just looking for evidence, everybody. They're definitely... Totally, we can trust them.
Something. Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis announced the charges last night.
It's a bit sus.
Today, based on information developed by that investigation, a Fulton County...
Against the brief but mysterious incident in which the county website put up a list of criminal charges to be brought against the former president. Those were taken down pretty quickly. And then, of course, something very, very similar went up very late last night. Trump's legal team says the events that have unfolded today have been shocking and absurd, starting with a leak of the presumed and premature indictment before the witnesses had even testified or the grand jurors had deliberated, and ending with the DA being unable to offer any explanation. The indictment, which is 98 pages long, which kind of smacks of you in fourth grade attempting to write a very long 5-paragraph essay in the hope the teacher would give you an A, even though the essay wasn't very good.
Bro, it's like 100 pages. What are you talking about? Like, lays out a bunch of charges.
That's sort of how the indictment reads. It's very long. It's very detailed. And it sort of goes over a lot of territory that...
It's very long, it's very detailed, and also it's like your 5th grade report that you handed in last minute. Both of these things are true in Ben's mind. Incredible stuff.
It has already been trod. They accuse Trump and his alleged co-conspirators of 161 acts. Many of these acts are things as simple as, like, retweeting things. So...
Yeah. We all know that,
if you look at the actual...
You know... People have a First Amendment right to coordinate a conspiracy.
Indictment. It actually says that, for example, it accuses Act 28. On or about the 3rd day of December 2020, Donald John Trump met with the Speaker of the Pennsylvania House of Representatives in the Oval Office and discussed holding a special session of the Pennsylvania General Assembly. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. So meetings are apparently now illegal, but
yeah, that's how conspiracies
he called
work.
Brian Kemp. He retweeted something from OANN. There are people who are suggesting that those sorts of acts are now illegal. That's not really how this works. So to understand how these charges work, you first have to understand what RICO is, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act.
Okay, so I think I did the same thing Hassan did. He's just describing people who are misunderstanding the issue, and now he's going to, like, give the chapter and verse.
How that actually works. It's a very controversial law that was passed in 1970. Originally, it was aimed at the mafia. And again, the basic predicate for the law is that it's very difficult to charge people who are upper-level gangsters with the crimes of their subordinates. This is why RICO was passed. Originally, you'd have a low-level hitman, and he would get charged with murder, and then he would refuse to rat on his boss, and there was no way to actually try the boss. And so what they did is they started wrapping together the entire criminal organization in an effort to get the low-level hitman to flip on his superior and to get that guy to flip on the boss. That was the basic idea. If you indict everybody all together, it is easier to flip all of the associates by threatening them with the highest-level charges. That's sort of the goal, right? You charge the accountant with murder, and therefore, the accountant, because the accountant is now wrapped into the giant conspiracy, the accountant doesn't want to go to jail for murder. The accountant doesn't want to go to jail at all, and so the accountant flips on the boss. That's what racketeering originally was. It comes from the term racket, which meant an organized illegal activity. All it requires, the violation of RICO, at least on the federal level, and the Georgia RICO statute, which is the one that's being charged. And it does make a large-scale difference, by the way. This is a state case and not a federal case, because what it means is that even if Donald Trump were elected president, he could not pardon himself of any charge for which he was found guilty in the state of Georgia. He could not free himself from that. By the way, any accusation that the Georgia governor, who's a Republican, Brian Kemp, that Brian Kemp could pardon Donald Trump for this is not correct. There's a panel in Georgia that would actually have to sit and decide whether or not he would receive a pardon. He also does not have the power to summarily dismiss DAs in the state of Georgia, Brian Kemp. So all of the jabber, it is amazing that every time Donald Trump gets in trouble, there's always a lot of talk about how other Republicans have a responsibility to rescue him. And very often, that responsibility is not even within their power. I mean, this goes all the way back to January 6th itself, when Donald Trump suggested openly that Mike Pence had the ability to simply toss out electoral college votes that had been state certified already. He did not. It's not the responsibility of any of these other people to bail Donald Trump out when they don't have the legal power to do so. If they had the legal power to do so, at least you can make the argument. But Brian Kemp doesn't even have that legal power. And anyways, when it comes to the state RICO Act, which is very, very similar to the federal RICO Act, the way that racketeering basically works is racketeering is broadly defined as requiring at least a couple of acts of racketeering activity committed within 10 years of each other. And it also requires that there be a criminal conspiracy in furtherance of a crime. Criminal conspiracy in furtherance of a crime. Okay, what that means is that, let's say you and I, we decide that we're going to conspire to go to the Walmart together. Not a crime, because that's a conspiracy without actual furtherance of a crime. You and I decide we're going to rob a bank together. That means that if we go to the Walmart to buy a shotgun, and we buy the shotgun at the local Walmart or something, normally that wouldn't be illegal. Okay, it becomes illegal because you and I are now planning to use that shotgun in the robbing of the bank. So many of the acts that Trump and his associates are being accused of are acts, quote unquote, in furtherance of the crime. So the real question in this case is not whether Donald Trump did all the things that the indictment alleges. Most of that is undisputed. The real question in this case is whether it was in furtherance of a criminal activity. In other words, is it a criminal activity for Donald Trump to pursue a bunch of legal means to forestall his election loss? Is that stuff illegal? Now, if he had gotten together with a bunch of his friends and he said, let's actually overthrow the federal government, it would look illegal. But then Jack Smith would be charging that on the federal level, right? He'd be charging him with actual insurrection, which he did not. He would also be charging him with incitement of a riot, which he did not. When it comes to Georgia, the accusation is that Donald Trump essentially wanted to overturn the results of the Georgia election through illegal means. And he was pressuring people to do it through illegal means. And this is a pretty serious charge. Again, I think that it is doubtful that this could be proved in court, but it's also happening in Atlanta. So just like the Washington, D.C. case, this means that you have a local jury that is not going to be friendly to President Trump. Now, as I say, I think it's a doubtful charge because, for example, some of the things that are being charged here and some of the people being charged are some of the quote-unquote false electors, right? These are people who signed a document saying that they were the duly elected electors of the state of Georgia when they were not. But there's a problem with that, which is that if you go all the way back to 1960, for example, Hawaii Democrats actually did the same thing. Hawaii, believe it or not, was a very sort of razor's edge state between Republicans and Democrats in the 1960 election. So Democrats created an alternative slate of electors who signed a document claiming that they were actually the alternative slate of electors. That was not illegal at the time. So if you sign on to a document saying, I'm a member of the duly elected slate of electors, and then the state rejects that, is that illegal? If you take bad legal advice, is that illegal? Because it turns out that many of the people who are now being indicted are Donald Trump's lawyers. And so the idea here is that Donald Trump would have to show, it would have to be shown that Donald Trump knew for a fact that he lost the Georgia election, and that he then pursued a bunch of means in order to overturn that election. So you come back to the same thing that you have in the Jack Smith federal case, which is, what did Donald Trump know, and when did he know it? Do you think that he actively believed that he won the Georgia election and he was pursuing a bunch of legal strategies in order to assure that win? Or did he know that he lost and he didn't care? And because he knew he lost, he was attempting to overthrow the election. That's going to be the open question. Now, Donald Trump has done himself no favors along these lines. I mean, let's be clear about this. Donald Trump actively retweeted an article after David Perdue, who lost in a Senate race in 2021, largely because Donald Trump told everybody not to vote in 2021 in a runoff. After he lost, Donald Trump tried to prop him up to run against Brian Kemp for governor because Brian Kemp did not go along with Donald Trump's Georgia shenanigans. David Perdue got his ass kicked by like 50 points in the primary against Brian Kemp. And Donald Trump...
Such a goof. I can't believe I had my mic on the whole time.
Trump then proceeded to tweet out an article suggesting that David Perdue had lost because of voter fraud.
Also, before you get too enamored by anything Shabibo is saying, just remember, keep in the back of your mind that, you know, he's coming from a place of research. You know, he's done a lot of research, considering he wrote a whole book arguing for the RICO prosecution of the entire Obama administration. Oh, I'm sorry. What was that? Shapiro book. RICO Obama. The People versus Barack Obama from Simon and Schuster. Oh, jeez. Oh man, look. Would you look at that?
So
that's what I was doing in background. I was finding that.
Again, the case that Fani Willis and company are going to make, just to be totally legally fair here, the case they're going to attempt to make is that Donald Trump doesn't actually care at all whether he wins or loses an election. He's going to claim that he won, and then he's going to attempt to overthrow the legitimate results of the election. But Donald Trump also could legitimately believe that he won the Georgia election, even if that's not true.
Even after they lost 60 court cases, even after every advisor told him and his lawyers told him and his chief of staff told, like, I don't know, man, you're kind of stretching my... It's kind of ridiculous.
And by the way, it is not true. The Secretary of State of Georgia has actually attempted to pry out information from True the Vote, which is the organization behind 2,000 Mules.
Oh,
and
no.
True the Vote has refused to turn over the information they say supports the idea of widespread voter fraud in the state of Georgia. But that doesn't matter. The real question is intent. Is it a criminal act to listen to bad legal advice? Is it a criminal act to call up the Georgia Secretary of State and say, I want you to find me 11,870 votes? Is that...
Probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's probably a criminal act to ask for the specific amount of votes you need to win. I think most people would just be like, yeah, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound like an election.
Is that a thing that is criminal? Or is that just you being an idiot? Right?
Come on, Ben. Come on, Ben. Come on. Come on, if you rob a bank, is that you breaking a crime? Is that you, like, breaking the law? Or is that you just being an idiot, you know?
You being an idiot, not a crime.
Oh, this
a
logic.
Conspiracy to be an idiot, also not a crime. We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, I want to talk to you about Daily Wire's most trusted privacy partner and the premier sponsor of this show.
No. Adge. He just reads to... Look at this. He's just looking at his screen. He doesn't even care for his advertisers. Damn, Ben. Now we know the ad's over because he's looking at us now with his angry face.
ExpressVPN.com/Ben to learn more. So, two things can be true at once. One, this can be a fairly serious charge that Donald Trump is facing down, particularly in an unfriendly jurisdiction. It can also be true that Donald Trump is being targeted by Fani Willis in highly political fashion. It's the exact same thing as Jack Smith going after him in Washington, D.C.
Although they all just have it out for him. It's not that he did a bunch of criming, and all of these cops are really interested in this guy.
I will say that the Georgia case, just based on statute, is stronger than the Washington, D.C. case. The Washington, D.C. case has a bunch of twisting and turning to try to fit what Donald Trump did into a bunch of statutes that don't quite fit. This one, you can at least make the argument, legally speaking, that Donald Trump fits within the purview of these statutes in a way that he doesn't in sort of the D.C. case. But with all of that said, why is it that 4 cases have now come down in 5 months leading up to the election? Why?
Because he did a bunch of crimes, and it takes a long time for prosecutors to get the case together, especially when they know there's going to be a bunch of people like you criticizing them and consider calling it, politicized, regardless of whether it is or not.
That's a little bit suspicious.
Very suspicious.
You have 4 major criminal cases that have come down in the last 5 months against the...
Damn, man, this guy who was on a crime spree sure is getting into a lot of trouble. Who knew committing a lot of crimes could get you indicted several times? That's such an odd coincidence.
Leading Republican contender for the presidency. That looks an awful lot like election interference, just to any outside observer, obviously. Now, as I say, this particular case is extremely broad.
The real interference were the friends we made along the way.
Fani Willis has now given Donald Trump a deadline to turn himself in. And people at the courthouse, I mean, you can tell how political this is. People at the courthouse are already saying that he's going to take a mugshot, which will easily be the most trafficked photo in human history. You can imagine Donald Trump will smile for the photo. Because when you smile for your mugshot, you look cool. And Donald Trump knows that.
No, you don't. No, you don't. If you look like... There's a bunch of really awesome mugshot photos. And usually they're not smiling. So shut the fuck up.
Here's Fani Willis explaining the deadline.
am giving the defendants the opportunity to voluntarily surrender no later than noon on Friday.
And we already saw this. And also, just to prove the point, like, is he smiling? Is Jimi Hendrix smiling in this photo? No.
25th day of August, 2020.
QED. All right, yeah, we heard this.
23.
Okay, so Donald Trump is going to have to turn himself in probably next week. It is
Monday.
worthwhile noting here that Donald Trump is going to have one defense, which is that the grand jury was essentially preset. That the bias in the grand jury was essentially
exactly,
preset.
Silver Dragon. 91 charges. The document is like almost 100 pages too. I think when I like did it in my head, it averaged out to like 20 to 25 like charges per like, I don't know how it works, per case. I think it is. They divide it by cases. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, and this is someone who is like her main job is to go and do RICO charges. Like, he's cooked.
You'll recall that there was a crazy lady who was the foreperson of the grand jury in this particular case. Her name was Emily Kors, and
She's crazy,
she was
everybody.
the witch, I believe.
She's a witch. Okay, all right. You know what Ben likes to do to witches.
Who then went on a national media tour talking about the grand jury workings and was extremely weird. So Donald Trump's legal team is going to...
She was weird, everybody. We better get her off the jury. I think that actually qualifies her more. If the person isn't weird and is on the jury, you're just like, how did you find this person? Like,
something to hang their hat on here. Here's a flashback of Emily Kors, the grand jury foreperson, who again is a weirdo.
Personally,
want to hear from the
former president. I wanted to hear from the former president, but honestly, I kind of wanted to subpoena the former president because I got to swear everybody in. And so I thought it'd be really cool to get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear?
Is there somebody saying on the original clip, "Oh Lord," in background? I've heard this a few times. It's the first time I've heard someone being like, "Oh Lord." Listen real closely.
To get 60 seconds with President Trump of me looking at him and being like, do you solemnly swear? And me getting to swear him in. I kind of just thought that would be an awesome moment.
Yeah.
Jury duty, yeah. It's the place where 12 people too dumb to get out of jury duty get to decide your fate. So,
damn. Listen to Ben. Really, proud of the American judiciary.
Yeah, Donald Trump's team is going to have something to say about all of that as well. We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, everything is crazy right now. And you need to be able to just like calm down and take a breath. The way that I do that is 3 times a day, according to Jewish ritual. I have to pray. But if you're not an Orthodox Jew and you're looking for time in your day to try to, commune with the Almighty and actually get in touch with something greater, Hallow can help you do that. Regardless.
What that was, what the hell is, what a pitch. Can we roll that back? That was one of the most awkward segues I've ever heard. He's like, I'm Jewish and I pray, but if you're not Jewish and you pray, if you love the Christian God, the Jesus. One more time.
More on this in just 1 second. First,
he's so bad.
Everything is crazy right now. And you need to be able to just like calm down and take a breath. The way that I do that is 3 times a day, according to Jewish ritual. I have to pray. But if you're not an Orthodox Jew and you're looking for time in your day to...
Chat, are you breathing right now? Have you taken the time in your day just to focus on breathing? It's remarkable what it can do for your mental health.
Try to,
try this app
with the Almighty and actually get in touch with something greater. Hallow can help you do that. Regardless of your religion, we all need a little more peace in our life. Hallow is an incredible app that offers a unique approach to prayer and meditation. Unlike other meditation apps, Hallow is tailored to...
I love that he's just staring at his screen while he reads the ad. Just absolutely zero connection with his audience. Just like, oh, but first, and now, I needed money. Money me now?
.com/Shapiro. Okay, so as I say, this criminal indictment, here are the people who are named. Trump, Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, who is the lawyer, Mark Meadows, who is his chief of staff, John Chisbro, who is one of his lawyers as well, Jeffrey Clark, who is a member of the DOJ, Jenna Ellis, one of his lawyers, and then there are a bunch of more local officials, including a bunch of people who signed on to the alternative elector scheme. Okay, now, how is this going to play out? It is very likely that he apparently faces 13 charges and up to 71 years in jail.
13 charges. I think maybe then the 90 is across all the co-conspirators.
He's now facing, we are talking 13 charges there. He's facing, I believe, 14 charges in Washington, D.C. He's facing a bevy of charges in the classified documents case.
Yo, this is getting off the rails.
So, I mean, Trump is in serious jeopardy of going to jail. And as we say, because this is a state case, he cannot pardon himself. So the argument that Donald Trump must be elected president so that he can escape jail, which is an argument I'm seeing made right now, I don't see how that works.
Why are people making that argument? That's so unhinged. What happened to him? Like, the idea of America, what's going on?
See exactly how that argument is even operative.
Pardon himself.
In terms of which of these cases poses the largest scale legal threat to Donald Trump,
it's probably Georgia.
This is the case that obviously poses the largest scale legal threat to Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
The reason being, it is broad, it is all-encompassing. It allows Fani Willis to tell this overarching story, linking together his activities in Pennsylvania and his activities in Washington, D.C., and his activities in Georgia, in this broad-based conspiracy in which she can connect all of these dots. So it's smart of her to charge under the RICO Act. To be simple about this, it is not a stupid charge for her to do this. You can say that it's corrupt. You can say that it is politically motivated. I think there's some truth to that. It also happens to be the case that just from a legal perspective, what she's doing here is not unintelligent. What she's doing here is a weapon designed to take down Trump. No question. Trump calls her an out-of-control and very corrupt district attorney. He declares the charges are part of a witch hunt. The case, again, is the fourth targeting Trump just this year alone. This case probably will run all the way through the election because it is very large scale. Now, she says, and this part is crazy. She says she wants to try all of the defendants at once, like put them all in a room together and try them at once. Sort of like that scene where Harvey Dent tries everybody all together in The Dark Knight. You remember that scene? He brings in all of the corrupt mobsters and puts them all in a room together, and all of their lawyers are protesting and all of the rest of this. And he does this to throw a scare into them. That's part of it. Okay, what RICO is designed to do, as I suggested earlier, is to get the accountant to flip on the hitman who flips on the headman.
Right.
Part of this is going to be an attempt to get people who are around Trump to flip on Trump to avoid criminal charges. So when is this actually going to take place? That is still up in the air. Willis did not say whether she has spoken.
I think I heard it was going to be by Friday he had to turn himself in. So I'm kind of like on pins and needles watching and waiting.
With Special Prosecutor Jack Smith at this point, which probably means that she has. She said she doesn't care whether this goes first or last, which means that it will go all the way through the election without a doubt.
Nice.
Trump wrote on Truth Social, so the witch hunt continues. 19 people indicted tonight, including the former president of the United States, me, by an out-of-control and very corrupt district attorney who campaigned and raised money on I will get Trump. And what about those indictment documents put out today, long before the grand jury even voted and then quickly withdrawn? Sounds rigged to me. Why didn't they indict 2.5 years ago? Because they wanted to do it right in the middle of my political campaign. Witch hunt. And again, that may very well be the case. That does not mean he is not in legal danger. Two things can be true at once, as always, as always. He can be in legal danger. It can be a witch hunt. It can be an attempt to take him out in the election. The real question for Republicans is whether they're going to go along with the bait here. And the obvious bait is nominate Trump so that he can take his revenge. As I said before, I don't see how that works even legally speaking. If he goes to jail in Georgia, he will still...
Ben, there's nobody else who can take the place of Trump. Nobody has his pull. The Republicans are all... I mean, Mark Meadows is in the indictment. It doesn't even... Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is bad.
He'll be in jail in Georgia as president of the United States. There's a civil suit that was filed against against Bill Clinton when he was president of the United States by Paula Jones. It went forward. It's why the Monica Lewinsky scandal happened. We've never had a case where a state criminal charge is filed against the sitting president of the United States before he became president of the United States. I don't even know how that would work.
We're
I'm not sure anybody knows
new territory here.
Let's say that you get hit with a murder charge and you run for the presidency from jail. Are you automatically freed from jail on the murder charge? Like, let's say that Ted Kennedy had actually gotten hit with a murder charge, or at least a manslaughter charge, as he should have been in the case of Mary Jo Kopechne in Massachusetts, and then he had continued to serve in the United States Senate. Presumably, he still would have gone to jail.
How about Dennis Hastert, who served in Congress for many years? Don't Google that on your own computer.
I don't know how any of this works. I'm not sure anybody knows how any of this works. Georgia represents probably the most serious threat.
I love that. Who knows? But we know it's wrong. I don't understand how any of this works, but I'm pretty sure it's all coordinated between all of these different DAs.
To Trump's liberty, according to a wide variety of legal analysts, including Andy McCarthy. It is highly likely at this point, as I say, it is hard to imagine that Trump escapes all legal consequence for all of these charges. I'm not sure how he escapes what's going to happen to him in Washington, D.C. or Georgia.
It's such a weird way to frame it, too. Just like, how can he slip out of it this time? You know, like, what a, like, limp-wristed response. Like, don't you think that maybe he did the thing?
Georgia. And when we say that it's outrageous, it is. It also means that the glass has now been broken. So what we're about to see next is what we're about to see next.
Again, the guy who wrote the book that Obama should be RICO'd. The guy who wrote the book.
is Republican DAs all over the country start to indict people like Joe Biden for things like racketeering and corruption as vice president of the United States. Facts. Once the glass has been broken, it cannot be unbroken. The glass has now been broken. The predictable
people have crossed the Rubicon, if you will.
Result of this is not that Donald Trump gets elected president. The predictable result of this is that lawfare now becomes the way that political opponents go after each other on the regular in the United States. And that's going to be a really, really dangerous thing. Remember, Donald Trump, it was considered wildly out of the bounds of propriety when Donald Trump said to Hillary Clinton that if he was elected president, she would be in jail. You remember he said this during a debate.
Yeah, because he was using it as a way to whip up a populist base, not based on facts, not based on any particular criminal, like, I mean, actually, I don't know if I can go that far, but, you know, Hillary was pretty dicey. But either way, like, that's generally not how, you know, the judiciary works. There's a whole reason you split the courts from the executive to avoid this problem.
She said, well, what would you even do if you're president? Like, if I were president, you'd be in...
That's why Jack Smith is a special counsel.
Jail. And then he didn't do anything about it. And a lot of people, myself included, thought, well, that's probably good. We actually don't want people persecuting their political opponents. When that would clearly have Democrats all over the country, from Manhattan to now Georgia to Washington, D.C. to Florida, going after their political opponents. That is not a bell that can be unrung. Get ready for Republicans to do the exact same thing as soon as they have the power and the grounds to do so. That is where we stand as a country. So things are about to get worse, not better. All those people on the left who think that this sort of this is restoring rule of law and all that nonsense. All this is going to do is going to achieve a race to the bottom. Because again, once the law can be used as a weapon directly against your political opponents, why exactly would you allow the other side to use that weapon and to avoid culpability for their use of that weapon? It's hard to see exactly how this doesn't end poorly for pretty much everybody. We'll get to more on this in 1 second. First, everyone knows I love my Helix mattress.
You can't use first twice. You use second or now or a different... I can't do it. He's so bad at copy. He's so bad. I need an advertiser deal or something just so I can show Ben how to do it. This is painful. This is so painful. Why does he just read? I guess it doesn't matter when you have his...
HelixSleep.com/Ben with Helix.
He just has to look at the camera for
the reason that Rudy
actual
Giuliani is highly likely to get convicted in this case is because he has openly had to apologize to a particular poll worker for suggesting and implying that she was corruptly bringing in empty ballots to the Fulton County,
which was like proven false in a number of ways. I remember that. Oh god, it was like debunked by like a number. You just had to have more perspective.
Vote counting location, knowing presumably that she was not in fact doing that. But once you have people who are caught in false statements, it shouldn't be that hard to flip them. Sidney Powell, like the question is, how strong is their loyalty going to be? So Donald Trump has had the loyalty of subordinates for a very, very long time. In the classified documents case, for example, he has Walt Nauta and a bunch of low-level aides who are maintaining their unwillingness to basically flip on him. Is that going to hold with somebody like Sidney Powell? Does it seem like Sidney Powell is somebody who is going to, stick by her word here and hold by President Trump?
Okay, we're going to take a break on Ben because I think we understand where he's going. He hasn't given much of his own opinion, to be honest. Mostly just going through. Here's some more cope. I believe we have a compromised president. He was bribed and now he's being blackmailed. He's a Manchurian candidate. That's why Crooked Joe is letting other countries walk all over the United States.
It is now 100% proven that the Biden crime...
Oh. Yo, thanks so much for the follow, Carrig87. Welcome to the stream. Should be streaming a bit more regularly now that I'm done my masters. Oh, I'm streaming from Montreal. I don't know what time it is for you, but, you know. Yeah, good morning.
Family received more than $20 million from foreign countries while Crooked Joe was vice president, and probably a lot more than that. That's just the money they found.
Crooked Joe.
Not one of Joe Biden's defenders has even attempted...
Poland, cool, awesome. How's it going? There's a really lovely Polish bakery all over Montreal called Wawel, and they make these donuts with like this custard in the inside that's like made with plums, and it's like to die for. It's incredible. It's like one of the best bakeries in the city, and it's stiff competition. Nuts and awesome people. Yeah, it's kind of a crazy time. This is part of why I got back into streaming. This next like couple months is going to be, yeah, the 2024 election is just going to be mental.
To explain what Joe and his family did, including his children and his grandchildren. What were they doing getting all of this money? I believe we have a compromised president. He was bribed, and now he's being blackmailed.
This is so like meta. Like every time I hear him saying that, he's just projecting. I'm just like imagining him admitting to, you know, being blackmailed or something.
He's a
Which is always kind of like the left wingers would have that conspiracy theory that he's being blackmailed by Russia. And I've held that conspiracy theory for a little bit, for a couple months, because it's kind of fun to hang on to, but like I don't know if it really adds up. Aren't they getting bored with indicting him? I mean, the hits keep on coming. 4 indictments? That's wild. It's wild. I don't know how you could get bored. There's so much criming, you know, so much to catch up on. How do you tell that? Wait, tell what? I'm moving quickly.
That's why
Short-term memory loss.
Joe is letting other countries walk all over the United States. He's afraid to bring it up. He doesn't want to talk about it.
Indictment in past sentence. So yeah, there's 4 indictments, and the one today was about the state charges. And it's all about different things. Like one indictment is about how he stole the national secrets that might have contained information about like nuclear defense options and stuff. Like, wait, what? And also like there's a bunch of documents that like the government just never recorded. You're talking about the word. Indictments means how do you say it in the past simple? He got indicted. Indicted, ED. So you know, I got indicted last week. You got indicted last week. Trump got indicted today. Or yesterday. Yesterday.
They know exactly how much money has been given to him, and they know exactly where it is. China has paid him a fortune. Just think of what China
He'll
has
be
gotten
on top.
for all that money.
You think Trump will escape this? You think he'll survive? We were just listening to Ben Shapiro being like, I don't know, guys. Do you really think we should make him our front runner? I don't think he's going to escape it this time. And that was Ben Shapiro, who wrote the book on RICO.
Biden shut down my administration's initiative targeting Chinese spies in the United States.
Chinese spies, everybody.
He let China off the hook.
After this, we'll get into the cost of living crisis in Canada. More you shame him, more people will follow him. Yeah, I really agree with that. And I think it's a bit of perverse reaction. Politicians are not for us. Yeah, it's becoming more and more true that politicians would benefit more from working with corporations than working with their constituents, with the people they represent. So yeah, things are not going well. In Canada, we've got scandals. We have actual scandals for once. Like our Premier of Ontario was like selling out all of our like reserved environmental land to like developers, like his buddies. Yeah, if you look at it like as class war, I'm with you, but there's definitely a huge difference between Democrats and Republicans. Like Trump is getting indicted 4 times because he definitely tried to overthrow the election. He definitely tried to do the thing, do a coup. And if he was not indicted over that, that would be crazy too. The closest example was in, I think, like, was it Brazil or, oh God, Mexico, where there was an attempted coup when nobody was in Parliament or the Supreme Court, and like everybody got arrested like that day. Like literally hundreds of people. I think it was like 400 people got arrested at least, just like the day of. It was like their version of January 6th, and was really poorly organized. There was a bunch of chuds, and they all just got arrested right away. So if like he doesn't get arrested for organizing it and tweeting and hanging back as the commander-in-chief when like people were saying hang Mike Pence, like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think January 6th like definitely radicalized me.
He shut down the investigation into the origin.
Oh yeah. Say why. You're more than welcome to disagree.
Of the China virus. He did nothing as China began setting up bases in Cuba, taking over South America, and threatening Taiwan. They even took over the canal. We spent a fortune building it. Jimmy Carter's administration sold it for $1. We lost 36,000 people building the Panama Canal. The mosquitoes got them, malaria. Okay. The mosquitoes got them.
That's fine.
Now China controls it. Russia and China are even doing military exercises near the Aleutian Islands, right off the coast of Alaska. And Biden sits back on his hands. He does nothing. This never would have happened if I was president. If they even thought about it, I would have shut it down instantly. There's no way they would have done any of this kind of thing, including Russia invading Ukraine would have never happened.
Well, I think you'll really like the next segment then, because I'm going to get into the cost of living crisis in Canada, and both left-wing and right-wing politicians are like, nom 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 nom. I hate how progressives are radicalized. Yeah, I feel you on that. I really see it often as a response to like the more the right wing radicalizes, the more the left will radicalize in response to that. And if right wingers would just calm the fuck down and like learn how to read. Yeah, that's it. Well, no, far leftists also dox and do like a lot of shady internet stuff and like hate like a lot of mob spamming stuff on try to get your streams taken down. That's kind of my characterization of the far left, like trying to destroy your reputation, which is definitely very dangerous too for an individual, but it's like not dangerous to like the state, to the country as an idea. And yeah, most of the culture is created by lefties. You were Liberial. Does that mean you were from Liberia?
And China wouldn't even be thinking about Taiwan right now. Crooked Joe's corruption.
Liberal, more like liberal. You done been lying to yourself.
Is a glaring threat to national security. Between the millions and millions of dollars he's gotten from China and the
she was taking that Adderall and it made her into a liberal. This is my conspiracy. Pharma's gotten into the drug supply.
Millions of dollars from Ukraine. Joe Biden's greed and criminality is going to get us into World War III. We're going to be in
World War III, everybody.
Grossly incompetent man. Now the corrupt Biden DOJ is continuing the cover-up with the appointment of a special counsel to block further investigation. It's the very same U.S. attorney who cut Hunter Biden the scandalous plea deal that was such a scam it didn't survive the barest scrutiny in court.
No, it wasn't.
It was done under what's called...
Okay, I got something that's really funny. I found out that like there's a new AI voice that's gonna be coming out, and it's based off of this minister of health who was really controversial. And he was controversial because he was like a minister of health during COVID, and so of course, and I find it really funny that like because there's so much footage of him talking publicly, that's why he was used to like produce an AI voice. but now that they're making an AI voice, it's going to fuel all of the conspiracies, which were why he was so watched in the first place. He was going viral, like, because like he was getting circulated by like anti-vaxxer groups and stuff. Oh man, it's just like such a weird world right now.
Blue slip. It wasn't picked in that position by President Trump. It was picked by the Democrat senators in the state. It's called a blue slip. You'll check it out.
Oh no, why not? Missed out on the. You're not a horrible person, but like, it's more like, it doesn't really work unless enough of us take it. And so if enough of us don't take it, it like wasted a huge amount of effort that would protect those who could never take it in the first place. Whereas like never an option. That's always the hardest part about vaccinations is that like, what if 10% of your population can't take it and you need to get to 85%? Like, it's really tough for society to sort of like rally everybody and be like, no, this is probably okay for us. You heard the Congress hearing from Pfizer executives. Yeah, I think I caught some of it. But again, like, I'm Canadian. We have a very, 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 very different take on it. Like, we had pretty widespread adoption of all the vaccines as they came out. We had a bit of controversy about it, but really nothing on the scale in America. Most everyone I know took it. It actually caused some complications for some of my friends, but like that doesn't necessarily mean they went down the rabbit hole a bit. Yeah, like I didn't like do a stream on it and watch the entire thing. I might have caught a couple. Yeah, well, that's how I originally started streaming, was covering the Freedom Convoy. Are you kidding me? Don't tell me about the trucker strikes. I was right. I streamed every single. Go onto my YouTube channel and you'll see those are like my best videos. But I tell you what, like the truckers did not know what they were protesting. They were way out of line. They were so confused because in Canada, our healthcare is decided by the province, not by the federal government. And then they went to the capital, Ottawa, to protest the federal government about provincial health policy. So everybody who knew anything about anything was like, what are you doing? Please, please just go where you should, over there. And if you've been to protests, if you protest, you know you protest in your own city usually. You don't go to other people's city and then protest, like unless it's like you're going down to the capital and it makes sense, right? Or just working class went there. It was actually quite a bit of working class. There's a lot of we're going to get to it. There's a lot of populism in Canada because it's getting harder and harder to make things work, even for me. Like I'm starting to get squeezed by the rental market. And it was mostly working class. But the problem was that like there's I think a group that represented most truckers. Like there's just like an organization where most truckers like had their membership or whatever, and they put out a statement pretty early on disavowing the whole movement and saying, you know, we don't mind getting vaccinated in order to cross the border. And you're right, that's how it started. I don't know, the people who were behind it, Tamara Litch and the other one, Pat King. Tamara Litch is actually facing big years in prison, 2 to 8 years, actually, I think, last I saw. So it might be worth checking back in on her, because I saw that come across. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize she got charged. I don't like both sides of radicalization. Yeah, it's happening because we're not really addressing climate change. We're not really addressing very serious issues like housing, like stagnant wages, and increasing, and also the war in Russia. Like Russia has been a dick and are kind of like destabilizing everything. Yeah, it's not good.
I didn't pick him. This is corruption like our country has never seen before. That is why as soon as I am reelected, I will appoint a real special counsel, or maybe you'll call it a special prosecutor, whatever you want to call it, you can, to look at all of
No, the different names mean different things, Trump.
these bribes, kickbacks, and other crimes, as well as the shameless attempt at a cover-up. Justice will be done. The Biden crime family will be looked at. We have to get there first. We have to win the election. They're trying to step in my way at every path because the one person they don't want to run is Donald Trump. But when
From the guy who brought you lock her up comes lock him up. We didn't talk about it, and you just jumped with climate change and Russia. What did you want to talk about? Thank you for your service to the establishment. Well, you might not like this about you, but you know, I follow the science. I actually go and read long-winded things that are complicated and look at chart data and go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. There's actually a really interesting discussion about how we had this huge spike in how warm things have been, like way above expectations. Everybody's kind of freaking out about it. And Hank Green sort of circulated an idea explaining why we might have had a sudden spike, and it was because we stopped using this particular kind of terrible fuel like years back. And what was weird about the fuel was that it like created atmospheric changes. It like suppressed the amount of CO2 in the air. Maybe I just pulled the clip. It was really fascinating. And we did away with it. And now that we're no longer sort of containing this extra CO2 in the oceans, it's leaking into the atmosphere. And that's why we have a spike. And so his point was like, oh, wow. So we do have examples that we can change the atmosphere. And it works. We've just been doing it this whole time without realizing it. Oh, man. Yeah. So that's, yeah, we're back to, we're going to put some chemicals in the air.
when we get there,
we're gonna turn the frickin' frogs gay.
the Biden crime family will pay a price like other people are being forced to pay. And that price will be very, very substantial. It'll be fair. But you know what? If they're guilty, they're going to be guilty. What they are doing to justice in this country has never even been thought of before. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's move on. That's a message from Trump. He should be going live Monday at 11, and I think I'm going to try to stream for that as well, and hopefully get back in the saddle of streaming every morning. Okay, let's move on. We had, this was a really interesting take that sort of turned my stomach a bit. And someone said, RICO has done a lot to dismantle organized white supremacy. Hot take. And then Robert Evans, who is based and smart and clever, he says, this same office is using RICO charges against people protesting the destruction of a forest to create a police training facility. If you haven't heard about it, he's referring to Cop City. And Cop City is like this huge like building that is being planned. And activists are protesting it because they see it as like the next step in police militarization. So he's kind of pointing out that this cop who is, you know, charging Trump on RICO is also busting up, you know, a pretty important left-wing protest movement. So I thought that was interesting. I thought that was kind of like added a bit of color to the situation. And now we got Terrence Williams with some cope. Let's see what he has to say. Do something now, all caps. Stand up for America, stand up for Trump, and stop being scared of demon rats. I mean, the Democrats. They've crossed the line. It's time to get down and dirty. All right, see what he's got to say.
So I'm laying here thinking.
He's so angry.
Looking up at the ceiling. And I can't stop thinking. Why in the hell are the Republicans not doing a damn thing? Why are they so scared of the Democrats? Why?
I love that he posted the picture of Trump when he's just like so besotted, so winded, disappointed. I can't remember when that was from. It was a really funny moment too.
Why are they not fighting back? Miss me with the bullshit.
He's so pissed.
Miss me with the. I'm sick of hearing people say, "Well, the Republicans are not going to stoop to their level." Bullshit. I'm sick of hearing people say, "Well, the Republicans like to fight fair." Bullshit. Fight fair my ass.
He big mad.
Fight back for real. If they got guns, you get guns. You don't bring a damn butter knife to a damn gunfight, because that's what the Republicans are doing. And don't...
Bro, these are all court cases. They're not bringing guns, they're bringing legal filings. These are very different things. Your analogy sucks.
Try to twist my words and say Terrence said, "Oh, they should shoot each." I didn't say none of that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying your analogy is bad.
What I'm saying is the Republicans need to fight back. In the same way that they are fighting us, they need to fight back the same way. That the Republicans need to go after them like they are going after us. They making up bullshit? Well, let's make up some bullshit too.
Bro, saying the quiet part out loud.
No, Terrence, we should be better than that.
What if they're not making up bullshit? Have you considered this?
Better than that? Okay, better than that. Look what better than that. Look where better than that got us. Look where it got us.
January 6th?
America's been hijacked by a bunch of dictators, because that's what they are.
Several dictators, not just one, as is traditional with the dictator. It's actually several this time. In Georgia and New York.
America's been hijacked by a bunch of criminals.
Real.
They're pulling bull crap out of thin air, claiming this is a crime and that's a crime. Literally.
I think I got a new follower, and then when I said I liked getting vaccinations, he left.
Literally charging Trump for telling people to go watch TV about the election. But Terrence, we shouldn't do what they do. Come on, y'all. Come on. If the Democrats are winning by doing what they are doing, how in the hell will we ever win? How? Please explain to me.
Winning people's votes?
Please explain to me.
Win votes.
I'm all ears.
Yeah.
Because I really want to know.
Okay, yeah, you should win people's votes with good policies.
Send this video to every Republican in office and tell them to get up off of their asses and fight for President Donald J. Trump. Fight for this damn country. Fight for the American people.
Wait until he finds out that Mark Meadows is also indicted. He is so upset. I don't think that helped him very much. He got 365,000 views. That's wild. Oh my god. And then immediately, like, weird conspiracies. That's a poem. That's a poem. Okay, we're reading the poem. I cried for this nation today, not because I'm a Republican, but because I'm an American. I cried for this nation today, not because I'm white, but because I will be judged for my white. I can't. Oh god. Oh jeez. I cried for this nation today, not because I was taught right from wrong, but because I know the difference between right and wrong. I cried for this nation today, not because I have a moral compass, but because it seems everyone else's compass is broken. It's awesome. I cried for this nation today, not because I'm not living the American dream, but because the American dream is being stripped away, piece by piece. I cried for this nation today, not because I'm religious, but because I understand what God expects of us, and we have fallen so short. If you cry for our nation today, it's okay. It's not because you are selfish, but because you believe this great country was founded upon. You believe what this great country was founded upon, and it is broken. Delta Dawn. That was awesome. I appreciated the using I cried for this nation together to hold everything together. And I noticed she's very consistent with capitalizing the letter after the colon. So very clean format. All center case, which I don't know if I agree with, but I mean that's just, you know. And the teardrops are a nice special, the actual, so you can, in case you don't know what tears are, there's a little visual representation in the corner to help you imagine what she was crying about. That shit's fucking hilarious. Oh man, I can't. Okay, moving on. No more Ben Shabibo. Again, Tim Pool is trying to get what he wants for Christmas, another civil war. It's like, what would happen if Trump or the defendants refused to surrender in Georgia? Just asking questions. My dad was from Waco. My parents said one of the Davidians used to babysit him. Villain origin story. There we go. Okay, we're moving on. So this was funny. I don't know if you caught this guy who was singing the tune that went real viral about being poor or whatever, but also had some uncomfortable lyrics. This one.
I've been selling my soul, working all day.
You know it's authentic because of the extremely expensive equipment in the remote forest. That's generally a common combination.
Overtime hours for bullshit pay, so I can sit out here and wait.
So it was like a country song that got super popular. I'm sure you might have heard it. And it turns out he is anti-Semitic and had a bunch of YouTube videos that he was, you know, had public playlists. He made playlists and made them public. The only time I've ever done that is to like make a cool music playlist or something. This guy's got like weird 9/11 conspiracies, 9/11 trutherism, COVID conspiracies, videos to make your noggin get bigger. So, you know, it's going to be, oh, no shit. I used to believe in this. There's a video that features Richard Gage, the founder of the conspiracy group Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth, speculating about the financial benefactors from the Twin Towers collapse. I remember they put a movie out, and like the year after 9/11, I was big into like Tower 7 or whatever. And I remember being like, it's all these architects. Why would they lie? And then I learned that jet fuel does indeed melt steel beams. And that conspiracy theory died in my heart. Okay, let's get to the cost of living crisis. Or actually, yeah, I got a bit of content there, but you know what? I should be here. I'm going to try my best to try to be here tomorrow morning. Because I want to kind of keep up to date on this. So yeah, I think I might call it here. Get ready for work. I got a few minutes left, and should be here back live tomorrow morning. And if I fall off the wagon, I'm trying to get back on it. It should be Monday, which is going to be tough because I'm running a show Monday. So I might be streaming twice. All right, maybe I'll reconsider stream the Monday stuff on Tuesday. Oh man, that sucks. But yeah, Monday night there's a show at Quai de Bloom for some English and French poetry, and we'll have a little chat after. So yeah, I better get some questions together to ask them. Okay, looks like I know what I'm doing this weekend. I'm preparing for this poetry show. Hopefully you can make it. Should be Monday around 8 or 9 o'clock p.m. We'll get some advertising together. All right, I'll see you later. You'll have a good one. And, you know, stay out of trouble. Stay out of trouble. You know, Don't do anything. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Yeah. Wait, where's... I'm looking for, like, my get out of Dodge screen. I don't think I have it. Oh, God, everything's a mess. Alright, okay, alright. I'll see y'all later. I hope you, I hope you're doing good. I hope everything's alright with you.